34. I'm super excited for this card, honestly. We got Gastelum, Cannonier at the top of it. Just got back home from a long ride, but got the notes down, and I'm ready to talk about this card, man. I'm honestly excited for a lot of matchups. I think that might have some very good fights, even if it's not like the biggest A-list card that's out there. I think it's going to be some good action. But guys, make sure you smash the hell out of that like button. I need at least 150 likes on this full card prediction video. We'll also go over the betting tips as well. So lots of things exciting to talk about. We're going to start it off with the first fight of the night for UFC Vegas 34. Appreciate everybody tuning into the show, whether live or in replay. Much love to everybody here. It's Abdulrazak Alhassan versus Antonio Braga Neto. So this fight here is a weird one. You have Abdulrazak, who's really gone downhill as far as his results, but we saw him get a lot of quick knockouts, earlier on in his UFC career. Ran into some trouble against some more technically sound guys, now on a 3-fight losing streak. Also that bad knockout loss to Chaos Williams. Judo Thunder is powerful. He has big hooks. He rushes in with them. He definitely can hurt a lot of lesser guys. Braga Neto on the other side is very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, high-level competitor, pretty flat-footed with his striking, though, and does have a pressure-forward style, looking to engage in the clinch, looking to get fights to the ground. You look at the last fight for Alhassan, Malhoun was able to control him in clinch position, showed physical strength advantages. The size edge alone, Antonio Braga Neto is going to have an advantage here, but he's also technically more sound as a grappler. I don't think he gets knocked out by Razak Alhassan at this point. I think that Braga Neto wins this fight by a second-round submission. I think he drags the fight to the floor, potentially locks in something on Abdulrazak Alhassan, who's now on a 3-fight losing streak. I don't think this is a great matchup. Yes, Braga Neto has been out of the game for a while. I think he comes back and wins this fight because he's fighting an undersized Abdulrazak Alhassan. This is a guy who was a welterweight up until just his most recent fight. I think that it's going to be Braga Neto for the victory here. And I think submission second round is a realistic outcome. As far as the odds for this fight, let's find Braga Neto versus Abdulrazak. Sitting around minus 122 to minus 100, ranging from where you go. I feel like Braga Neto is a valuable dog here. I mean, unless he got caught by a massive punch, I think the bookies are looking at the power that Razak Alhassan has, but you have to remember that was down a weight class. Up at middleweight, I think the guys are going to be able to absorb his shots fairly well and physically are going to be stronger, and they're going to beat him in the clinch, especially a guy with as good of jiu-jitsu as Braga Neto. If there's that prop for submission, it's not yet. Braga Neto inside the distance plus 185. Whenever that prop comes out, we'll cover it in the best bets. That could be really valuable for Braga Neto by submission, but I do think he beats Abdulrazak Alhassan here. But let's keep on moving up the card. Roosevelt Roberts and Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a fight that I am intrigued by. I think we're going to have a fun fight, but also a tricky matchup. Bahamondes is a striker. Roosevelt Roberts does have striking, but I feel like his game is more based upon his grappling skill set that he does have. He has pretty decent jiu-jitsu and top control. Granted, has run into some trouble. 2 submission losses in a row, though one was overturned against Kevin Kroom, but he lost that fight. I still think on the ground he could have advantages over Ignacio Bahamondes here. The striker is good, mixes it up with the kickboxing well in the boxing. You look at his last fight, he fought John Medeski. He ate some big shots, shown a solid chin. Roberts, though, not a guy that really is out there looking for knockouts. I think he'll end up winning this fight by a decision. I'll lean Roosevelt Roberts here. Unanimous decision. Odds-wise, looking at this fight, Roberts is slight favorite, minus 140-ish range. He has the skills to win it. Is it the best bet to make? Maybe not. Personally, not really feeling it, at least at these numbers right now. If they come closer to more pick'ems, I'd probably be willing to throw out for Roberts. If he was a dog, I would as well. But Ignacio is the dog here, rightfully so. I think he has a less well-rounded game, and I'm riding Roosevelt Roberts win by decision. But let's see if that fight potentially was Roberts by decision. Plus 178. over 1.5 minus 300. But for me, a no bet here, at least not right now for the odds that we're seeing between Roberts and Bahamondes. But I am right at Roberts for the win. Malecki versus Josiane Nunes. This fight is very interesting because if you look at this girl, look at the height. 5'9", right? She's 5'9" at 135 pounds, but she also has a 74-inch reach. That's the reach of a 6'2" person. That's insane from women's mixed martial arts. Her opponent on the other side, 5'2". I guarantee you her reach does not go past 66. I don't know it exactly. It's not listed on Tapology, but I've seen her fight. It doesn't look like she has this incredible reach. You're looking at minimum 8-inch reach advantage here. Malecki's a pretty decent kickboxer. Though, as tall as she is, she gets a little too close in range. She's going to be so much bigger than Josiane Nunes that I see the advantage for Malecki here over her. Even though Nunes, more experienced, dog, definitely can mix it up. Has good technical Thai boxing skills and powerful hands, aggressive hands. I think Malecki, being as big as she is going to put the pressure on her. She's going to be physically stronger. Nunes has been controlled on the ground in the past. I think Malecki could potentially do that here. I'll ride Malecki win by a decision. Odds wide, they are looking at Malecki about the minus 145 favorite, the plus 125 dog. It's women's MMA, so, it can't be like, oh, go out and bet it now. I really can't advise it, but I do think Malecki does win here against Josiane Nunes, and I think it's plus 170 decision. Very realistic outcome for her. And she'll move to 3-0 as a pro. Not super experienced with that size and that pressure style, I think, works some serious problems for Nunes. Next fight of the night, Ramiz, Brahimaj, and Sasha Palatnikov. If you haven't yet, guys, smash the hell out of that like button. As I said, I need at least 150 likes on these full card predictions. But let's talk about this fight. Welterweight division, I like this matchup because you have good strikers on both sides. You look at Palatnikov, I would say he's actually a pretty skilled fighter that underrated, but he beat Kosei, right? That fight definitely gave him a little bit of a buzz. But then the last one had a hard performance. Now the name's escaping me. It was Impa Kasanganay. But Impa Kasanganay is an absolute beast. It was, a guy in Impa who's physically imposing. Like, this man is a strength specimen. I believe it was Impa Kasanganay's debut at welterweight. I will double check that because I don't want to give you guys the wrong info here. Yeah, it was Impa Kasanganay's welterweight debut. He's going to be an interesting welterweight to watch. I don't think Palatnikov's not a good fighter. He's very technical with his kickboxing. He does bring in some slick movement. On the other side, Brahimaj, Thai style of striker, likes to overhand, decent jab as well. Grappling-wise, I could see it being fairly competitive. I think the range of Palatnikov being taller will prevent a lot of the grappling attack that Ramiz would potentially throw his way. I think Palatnikov is going to outstrike him over the course of 3 rounds. I think decision victory for Sasha Palatnikov here. And odds-wise, they have it. Palatnikov, plus money. Find him up at plus 119. I like him here as a dog play. I like Sasha Palatnikov. Let's see, Palatnikov wins by a decision. Plus 325. That's big value. I think Palatnikov here, guys. That's my pick on this one. Definitely a dog bet I am looking at. Keep on moving up the card. It is Brian Kelleher and Domingo Pilarte. I like this fight for Kelleher. I feel like striking-wise, he's pretty good. Has been in there with guys who've done better in the UFC than Domingo. I know Domingo came in with like a good amount of hype behind him. As a very technical kickboxer, sound on the ground, well-rounded. Has been doing martial arts, for more than half of his life. On the other side, Brian Kelleher is a dog. He likes to sit down and exchange punches. Front kick up the center, you'll see him throw. I mean, the guy has a well-versed skill set. On the ground, he's tricky with his submissions, and I feel like Kelleher's jiu-jitsu is actually pretty underrated. Pilarte got knocked out bad in the last fight, even though he was doing well. The fight before that, he loses to Felipe Colares, and he had moments. He fights Brian Kelleher here. Is it his time, his destiny to get his UFC win? I think there is definitely a chance here for Domingo Pilarte. I think technically, even though he's sound and whatnot, the big moment has kind of gotten to him. Let's quickly look at the lines here. Kelleher's up at a minus 162, minus 170. He's a big favorite, and Kelleher, known as the guy to beat the big favorites. I feel like Pilarte is going to be a tricky fight, but I still think Brian Kelleher edges it out. I think decision victory, Brian Kelleher here in this matchup. Definitely a chance Kelleher could knock out or submit Pilarte. We've seen Pilarte slept bad in the last one. Granted, that was just the perfect punch that slept him. I'm going Kelleher win by a decision here over Domingo Pilarte, the once pretty highly regarded prospect on the rise. Next fight of the night, Luis Saldaña, Austin Lingo. I like the fight. I like the matchup. I feel like I say I like every fight on the card. I genuinely do. I think there's things to like about a lot of these matchups. Saldaña, pretty aggressive with his kickboxing, fights well from the mid-range, controls it too, and especially being a little bit longer and taller than than Lingo, who is primarily a boxer. Lingo's style is very boxing heavy. Even though obviously it's mixed martial arts, he has a competent game with his kicks. He likes the hands the most. You see him pressure to get inside close. He throws powerful combination punches. I think they're going to be on display here against Luis Saldaña. I think Austin Lingo is actually going to put on a pretty good performance. And as long as he can get inside of the distance, I'll ride Austin Lingo dog play for the win here. He's sitting at plus 105, plus 125. The odds are not super widespread, and deservingly so for Lingo because he's got some pop in his hands, and I think his power could potentially be on display against Saldaña here. I'll pick Austin Lingo knockout win, but it's definitely not an easy fight, and it's a super competitive one. I could see the odds come down to pick 'em because I think people are going to be considering betting Lingo the dog. Let's see any other information. What do you want? Over 1.5 minus 265, over 2.5, 2.5. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 125. Fight starts round 2, minus 200. I'm going to wait on a bet on this one. I am going to wait maybe until we get a little closer, see how the lines move, see maybe potentially even after the weigh-in recap how they look on the scales. For Lingo by a KO TKO is plus 400. It's good money, but it's not an easy fight. I'll pick him by KO TKO, potential bet. Still going to sit and ponder more on this one as we get closer to the matchup. Next fight of the night, William Knight and Fabio Cherant. Technically sound striker as Fabio Cherant has not got to display it inside of the UFC. Bad loss to Menfield in the last one. He was on the Contender Series. He was doing well against Aleska Kimura, outstriking him, and then he gets caught, knocked out. I feel like Fabio Cherant's technical kickboxing skill set is something that could be valuable at 205 pounds at just 26 years of age. I think that his potential is essentially endless here. His opponent, William Knight, 33, not an old fighter for the heavier weight classes, but still experience similar. Knight is a specimen physically, powerful, known for comebacks. I mean, the guy can be getting controlled and then he turns it around and gets a TKO. His gas tank is there and he's carrying the power throughout the 3 rounds. Fabio Cherant is in for a very difficult fight here against William Knight, the powerhouse. Is it maybe a bias towards Cherant? I've watched a lot of fights from him and liked what I've seen, and I just feel he's been in unfortunate circumstance. I saw the odds come out for this fight. You know, they're extremely wide and favored towards Knight. I mean, deservingly so. He has victories in the UFC. But I think Fabio Cherant's skill set is a lot closer than the odds have it. Yes, Knight has a KO potential here. But I think Fabio Cherant could potentially be a very live dog. And he's extremely technical with his kickboxing skills. As long as he can control the range, not get bullied around by the very strong William Knight, I feel like Cherant could surprise a lot of people here. Might be a crazy man bet, might be my delusional bias, but I'm picking Fabio Cherant. Wins by a decision here. He's plus 485. I'll pick him and potentially be sprinkling that down over William Knight in this matchup. But let's keep on moving up the card, and let's get to the main card. Haven't yet? Smash the like button. We need at least 150 likes, so smash the hell out of the like button. New to the channel, you got to subscribe here too. We're covering all things MMA, UFC, Bellator, PFL, breaking them all down. We'll have the fight companions back up this week as well, so excited for that. But let's talk about this matchup. It's Martinez versus Trevin Jones. I like the matchup. Striking-wise, Martinez is technically sound, but I think the athleticism advantage and speed goes the way of Trevin Jones. I think he's going to get caught with punches. I think Trevin Jones is going to close the distance well. I think he's going to hurt Martinez here, and I think that Trevin Jones is going to knock out Mana in the second round in this matchup. Little bit square with the tie stance. I see straight shots being potentially able to get through, especially Trevin Jones, southpaw. Reach in favor of no one, actually. Interestingly enough, same reach, though Mana is the taller fighter. Trevin Jones has serious power. I think he's going to sleep Mana Martinez in this matchup. And I think Trevin Jones is interesting, right? Because he beat Timur Valiev until it was overturned. So he has technically a win over an extremely good fighter in this bantamweight division. He's a pretty big favorite, minus money. I like the minus money Trevin Jones. Definitely a potential parlay here with Leo Mana coming in on short notice as well. Let's keep on moving up the card. Alexandre Pantoja and Brandon Royval, in my opinion, truly should be the co-main because these are extremely high-level flyweights on both sides. I am super pumped to see how this fight ends up turning out. Brandon Royval is hell to deal with on the ground. Very nasty jiu-jitsu skill set. Alexandre Pantoja, excellent Muay Thai, good jiu-jitsu too. He's well-rounded. I think Brandon Royval is definitely going to be tricky for Pantoja on the ground. Pantoja, though, physically is going to be strong. I think he's going to close distance and look to combination punch. Hard fight on either side. Odds-wise, let's bring up the odds here. Pantoja, minus 170, minus 165. Royval at the plus money. Man, it's just interesting to see Royval being, this big of a dog. I really feel like in this fight, Alexandre Pantoja is in store for a legitimate matchup. What was the recent loss? Askar Askarov, forgivable. Davison Figueiredo, forgivable loss. You look at the Moreno fight. Royval was injured, but before then, he was having fantastic performances. They're sleeping on Brandon Royval, in my opinion. I'm picking Brandon Royval. I think he's going to win this fight. Does he get the finish? That's going to be tricky to do. You look through Pantoja's career, he's not a guy that goes out there and gets finished. Royval needs to be good throughout the majority of this fight. I think the reach advantage is going to play a serious factor here. Yeah, never finished before. I think that we're going to see Royval impress with a decision win. I'm riding Brandon Royval in this fight over Alexandre Pantoja. If you're going to bet it, I think the best bet is a straight dog bet. Don't play too much with trying to prop it up because, honestly, it's a very difficult fight. And even if Royval ends up winning them by a submission, knockout decision, you end up losing one way. So I think this bet it straight if you are. Plus 140, plus 150 money. I like it. I'm riding the underdog, Brandon Royval, in this matchup in the flyweight division that I cannot wait for. Flyweight division's a division that gets me pumped. I think that either of those guys could potentially be challenging for the title, especially Pantoja if he is victorious, because he has 2 wins if you include their exhibition fight on Tough over Brandon Moreno. So definitely a storyline there potentially if Pantoja wins. Next fight of the night, Vinc Pichel and Austin Hubbard. I like it. I like it. Kickboxing skill set Hubbard brings to the table is pretty good, also with good jiu-jitsu and takedown defense. Essentially, most guys he's going to be able to fend off. Joe Selecki in the last one got him out quick. And then he lost to Marco Madsen, who's Olympic wrestler in the co-main event of this card. We'll talk about him here soon. I feel like Vinc Pichel's grappling game is going to be tricky for Austin Hubbard to deal with, though I think Hubbard's the more athletic fighter. He's the technically superior fighter at this point. Pichel, though, is very difficult to deal with when he clinches you up. He's going to look to get you to the ground. Can Hubbard fend it off? Recent win over Dakota Bush, does have a loss to Joe Selecki. Win over Max Roshkov, who was a very good wrestler. Then you look at the recent wins for Pichel. Beats Roosevelt Roberts on the ground. Good win, but a while ago. But then he beat up Jim Miller grappling. That's impressive, but it is an older Jim Miller here. Let's look at the odds for this fight. Pick'ems. The odds are pick'ems. That's interesting. I expected to see Pichel a bit wider of a favorite just due to his past. But, man, can't lie to you guys. I'm leaning Austin Hubbard potentially to win this fight. I think he could do it by a decision or a TKO here. I feel like he'll fend off the grappling of Pichel. Pichel's going to be on him, though, and it's going to be pressure heavy. The odds are close, but at 38, it's hard for me to pick Pichel here against a hungry young guy who's done fairly well in the UFC, trading win-loss, but still with more wins than losses inside of the UFC. I'll pull up the record to be sure, but I'm 99% sure it's at least even. He lost to Hamoj by decision. He then beats Kyle Proplek, loses to Marco Madsen, beats Roshkov, loses to Selecki, wins win-loss, but he's losing to guys that are very difficult to deal with. I think he's going to beat Vinc Pichel here, and I think he's going to do it potentially by a TKO in the second or third round or a decision. Potential sprinkle bet on either of those ones if we'll quickly look at what they're worth earlier on in the week. Let's see. Hubbard wins by decision, plus 205. Hubbard by decision. Hubbard inside the distance, plus 355. If he does win inside the distance, I think it's KO TKO, plus 450 would be the bet that I would really lean on if I was thinking about that one, just simply because of Pichel's grappling game being tricky. I don't see Hubbard really submitting him. Now, next fight, featured bout of the night. Chase Sherman takes on Parker Porter. I think we're in store for a fun little heavyweight fight here. You got the pork man, Parker Porter. He's big, he's heavy, he's thick, he's strong when he comes inside, hits with knockout power. Physically, he's going to be difficult to deal with in clinch situations just simply because of his weight. But Chase Sherman, good amount taller, will have leverage. I feel like Chase Sherman is clearly the faster striker of the two. His boxing skill sets are better. He is a former champion over in the bare knuckle fighting championship. Does that translate to MMA? I do think it has for him. I think his striking's gotten better. Loses to Arlovsky by a decision in that one, but no shame there. I think he's going to beat up Parker Porter here. I'm going second round KO, Chase Sherman for the victory in our featured bout of the night. Chase Sherman's a pretty decent sized favorite, minus 190, minus 180 to the plus 165 dog. I'm going with Chase Sherman, the vanilla gorilla, to win this one. I think he'll win by KO TKO. It's plus 115 for inside the distance. We'll see when the prop KO TKO drops, because I think that's what happens. And I think it's probably in the second round for Chase Sherman, knockout over the thick boy Parker Porter in the featured bout of the night. Let's keep moving on up the card. We've gotten to the co-main event of the evening. You have a beast of a wrestler. So he's a 4-time medalist at the championships of the world, but Olympic level, he actually got a silver, which is an extreme accomplishment. When you're at that level of athleticism, you're hell to deal with, especially in a sport like wrestling, especially specified in Greco-Roman wrestling, which sometimes tends to be a better translation than freestyle towards MMA. John Jones known for the Greco-Roman wrestling. I think this is going to be a tricky fight for the OG Carpenter. Clay Guida is known for his wrestling skills, and he'll really lean on his wrestling against some of the faster strikers. I don't think he's going to be able to take out Marco Madsen on the ground. I think Clay Guida is going to get controlled here. I think he's going to get taken down, put against the cage. I think Marco Madsen shows his wrestling skill set, and he's superior to Clay. Win by a decision. Marco Madsen in this fight. I think he's going to really use that wrestling, and he's going to impress. He's a decent-sized favorite. You can even find him up, in nearly the minus 180 range. But he's sitting around minus 158, minus 160. I think fight definitely goes the distance here. So fight goes distance, minus 205. It's expected to. And I think it's Madsen winning this fight by a decision. It's plus 130 for that. I see him controlling Clay Guida over the course of the 3 rounds with just a superior game grappling-wise. I'm actually really excited to see Madsen fight, and especially, a step up in competition to an OG of the game. Clay's going to be wild striking, but I think Madsen's going to get the fight to the ground on a consecutive basis, or at the very least against the cage, and be winning with control time. So Marco Madsen for the W there. Let's keep on moving. If you guys haven't yet, smash the hell out of that like button. You need at least 150 likes on these full card predictions and betting tips. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you're new here, subscribe too. Let's talk about it. Main event of the evening, Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla versus Kelvin Gastelum. You have a dynamic kickboxer in Jared Cannonier with truly killer instinct. The guy wants knockouts. He's known for knockouts. You look at his 3 most recent wins, all KOs. He comes inside of opponents, rips overhand shots, explosive puncher. Loss against Robert Whittaker, it's forgivable, but he was dominated throughout and he was hurt in that fight for sure. Kelvin Gastelum on the other side, pretty slick with his boxing skills as well. I would say even underrated, maybe at the higher levels of the game. I mean, in this matchup, he is the underdog. He's sitting at plus money, plus 140. The straight punches of Gastelum are phenomenal. He's a southpaw. His jab is very good. You look at his whole boxing game, though, he's setting up punches that are a lot more technical than a lot of these MMA brawlers. Granted, as of recent, has not shown that. He's leaned on his wrestling, landed takedowns, but his durability is never to be questioned. This man survived Adesanya's dominant technical performance on him. Does he survive here against Cannonier? I think Cannonier is going to come at him hard. I think Kelvin Gastelum is potentially going to clinch up and look to wrestle. I don't think it's going to be easy to hold down Cannonier, but I think Gastelum will find success in this matchup. He'll eventually start getting his striking going, especially as the fight gets later on. I think Cannonier potentially gasses more towards the third. His pace drops. I think that's when Gastelum really starts putting it on him here. I feel like Kelvin Gastelum win by a decision in this matchup, but I could see a KO TKO late fourth round for Kelvin Gastelum. I think he's going to beat Jared Cannonier here. I'm going with the underdog, Kelvin Gastelum. I feel like he has the skill set overall to do so. He's up at that plus 140 money. As far as the method, over 1.5 for sure. Over 2.5, I think is extremely likely. Over 3.5, I do think probably happens too. I think the risk of stoppage comes like late fourth round to the fifth, and I think it'd be Cannonier's tired. But Gastelum could potentially come in with the low pace, and then we could be looking at a competitive fight for 5 rounds. I'll still slightly lean Kelvin Gastelum, and it might be a bias towards the past Kelvin, but I still think he showed a good performance against Robert Whittaker. He was in there for 5 rounds. I think he's going to beat Jared Cannonier, and I think he does it. I'm saying decision, but I could definitely see late stoppage here. Gastelum wins by a decision. Plus 280. I think that's what happens here. I'm going Gastelum decision win, but definitely a chance Cannonier does catch him and hurt him. I mean, he is a tank of a man with serious power in his hands. Cannonier wins by KO TKO. Let's find that. Plus 275. Maybe a sprinkle bet as well on one side. Sweet main event. Overall, I would say the card is pretty damn good, especially when you get up to the main. I think we're in store for a good night of fights from top to bottom. I think this women's fight's actually going to deliver with a scrap. I think pretty much every fight on this card has potential to be very good. I would say this is a true, like, B-plus fight night card, maybe even, an A-minus, because I am excited for it, and I think we're in store for great action. But I do want to send you guys off with parlays before we end this. We'll preview some of this week's potential parlays to play. Bring up best fight odds so we can do these parlays. Appreciate everybody who's tuned into the show as well. So smash that like button if you haven't yet. Much love to you guys. Let's talk parlays. Let me just use the keypad here. That mouse is giving me some technical difficulties. All right. As I always do, if you gave me $1,000 and I was going to throw down at some type of parlay, what is it going to be for me? What am I looking at? What's exciting me? Who do I want on my parlay potentially? Well, I would have to start looking early because I really feel like you want to get some of these early fights of the night parlayed up for yourself. Palatnikov, Saldaña, Lingo, Knight, Cherant, Pilarte, Kelleher, Pichel, Hubbard. I think Chase Sherman is a very confident play. Marco Madsen, confident play, plus 139. If you're looking to add somebody else in and take a little risk, if you added in Royval plus 474, but that'd be like a riskier parlay. Trevin Jones is definitely a potential add-in 3-fighter parlay that could cash between 3 moderate favorites, confidence, and I feel high confidence towards them winning. If you wanted to potentially play another dog out here, you could put Hubbard on the line plus 367. That'd be a wild one. We're really getting into more the Hail Marys, though. When we add more than 2 fighters, lottery ticket plays, you add more than 3 at that point, you're hoping for the best. It's lottery game here, but it's definitely potential, and it could happen, especially this one here, plus 1,000 money for it. If you didn't like him, you could potentially get Palatnikov plus 834. There's definitely some spots that I'm going to be playing when I'm creating a parlay for this card, because I do want to do more of a lottery ticket style parlay this week. Maybe 4 or 5 fighter that I want to add, which I haven't been doing as much lately. I've been doing more 2 to 3, but I think I might be playing a 5 fighter here. Ignacio Bahamondes. No, I'm not even on his side here. We'll add Roberts, Chase Sherman, Marco Madsen, Austin Hubbard, Brian Kelleher, Roosevelt, Roberts. That could be a casher here. Or Neto, plus 1,384. If this one hit, we mix in some juicy dog action. Definitely some good spots on this card. I'm super pumped for it. I feel like we could potentially catch some serious dinero here, man. So I'm pumped as hell for some potential wild plays. We'll have the best bets video out. I'm going to go over this week's best MMA bets as a whole. My plan is to break down deeply the UFC, Bellator, and PFL all in one stream. I want to do that on Wednesday, so that's why I was so thankful I was able to get this done today. Bellator predictions are dropping tomorrow. PFL predictions will be followed on Tuesday, and then Wednesday will be this week's best MMA bets, and then probably skip the Wednesday potential weigh-in recap for PFL, but I might just talk about what I saw at the weigh-ins when we do the best bets video on Wednesday. So we'll see then, but priority is the best bets. So we'll have this week's best MMA bets, and then we'll also have full coverage of PFL Bellator. Got fight companions this week, lots of coverage. Going to talk more about the betting odds pretty soon here. Appreciate everybody who tuned into the show. Much love to you guys. Smash the hell out of that like button. We'll check up on the live chat and see what you guys are talking about here. What's going on? What's going on? Good people in the chat. Much love. Trevin Jones was supposed to fight a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I don't think Ignacio fought somebody that was all that extremely good. Those contender series. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I'm super pumped. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I have a bias towards this card because, like, I've seen a lot of these guys early in their UFC career just, from watching the game. So I'm curious to see how a lot of these guys in the early prelims do. But I don't know. I think this card is more of a B+ personally, but that could be my own bias. I see you said it's a C at best. So some people might have a different take, but my take is that I'm high on it. I'm pumped for it. I appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. That's pretty much it for me tonight. I hope you guys really enjoyed these full card predictions. Had a great time breaking down the card in depth, but we have more. We'll have this week's best MMA bets where I'll give you the true, most in-depth betting breakdown that exists on the internet. Thank you guys all so much. Much love. Smash the likes. Subscribe if you guys are new here. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you all very soon.